What's good, team? Right now, I'm going to bring you guys another discussion topic today, and this discussion topic is going to be new series I'm doing on my channel called Technical Playing Yu-Gi-Oh, and pretty much becoming a better player and mastering technical play. So the reason why I want to make this video is, like a lot of you guys already know, I do have a little bit of credentials on my belt with one YCS top, a few regional top 8s, a bunch of regional X2s, and the fact I get my invite to regionals every year. I thought I'd be one of the perfect people to do this type of video. So in this specific episode you guys seeing right now, because I was thinking about making this a 4-part series, but I don't really know how many parts of the series it may be, and not to mention a lot of you guys might get everything you need from the series in this one video. But with that being said, if you guys have any ideas for more additions to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Technical Play series, post them in the comment section down below. Now, this portion of the series is going to be talking about wasting resources. A lot of players lose tons of games because they waste their resources and they burn through cards too early. So for this specific video, I'm going to tackle going first, going second, the mid game, and the late game when time is called. And everything is going to be focused on not wasting resources. So as I always tell you guys, without further ado, let's begin. Starting off with going first. When going first in Yu-Gi-Oh, you guys have to make sure you're knowledgeable about your deck. That obviously is done through tons and tons of playtesting, extensive playtesting. 20 to 40 hours a week minimum is my standard for playtesting for big events. You have to make sure you're knowledgeable about the meta as well / available resources. Now, what I mean by being knowledgeable about the meta / available resources, well, when you're knowledgeable about the meta, you kind of get a broad understanding of what you may be facing. Like, say for example, in this format, if I go to a YCS, I know at 1 out of every 5 rounds or 1 out of every 3 rounds I'm playing a Zodiac or Infernoid. So since I know that and I'm going first, I can set up my board to pretty much allow me to save resources for the Zodiac matchup and or make an unblockable board that the Zodiac deck cannot beat. Now, what I mean by saying having available resources on deck, meaning you gotta know what resources are available in the Yu-Gi-Oh market, meaning you have to have extensive knowledge outside of your own meta and pretty much just follow trends on what might help you out. Now, with that being said, going first, by knowing how to knowledge about your deck and by knowing about the meta and all the extra resources, it allows you not to spam the board and it allows you to make out better plays throughout the duel. So another thing I want to talk about with going first is, what I see a lot of players do, don't spam the board without protection, guys, and don't make a board and just leave your hand size low unless you have no way to make a better play other than, because sometimes you just have to do it that way. Because when you spam the board without protection, like a lot of people do, I see them just go like first turn Dark Law with, let's say for example, Utopia, Roots, and Dante. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that's what your opponent makes, and then they waste every card in their hand to make that play and they pass, and your opponent has a Dark Hole Raigeki. Guess what? You lose. So never spam the board without protection. Now, a feasible hand will be, let's say, first turn Dark Law, Rafflesia. Now, while you don't have protection from things such as lands, Raigeki, or return to tribute, you will have protection from things like, an opposing monster or something to get over your Dark Law. Now, that's just a broad example. I mean, there's multiple different variables and multiple different decks that have different situations, but the main concept you guys got to get out of going first is, do not spam your board without protection, and do not just use up your entire hand and make one big board unless you know for a fact you're gonna have game. Now, another thing I want to talk about for going first before I go into going second is, if your hand is bad, make sure to bluff. Yes, make sure to bluff. Now, if you guys don't know about bluffing, I did make a video on how to properly bluff people on Yu-Gi-Oh! I have a little icon in the right hand corner talking all about that. But if your hand is bad, guys, bluff. If you feel like you got a bad hand, keep a stern face, set one monster like we used to do in the old days, set one back row pass. I mean, yeah, they probably can't get you out of a sticky situation, but I've personally won games where my hand was trash and I went first, and instead of trying to use all my resources to go against my opponent, I just bluffed myself away. Next up, I'm going to tackle going second now. When going second, just like going first, you have to be knowledgeable about your meta. And one of the most important things about going second, you got to pay close attention to your opponent's body language and the plays they make. Reason being, when going second, guys, it's going to allow you, based on what your opponent's body language is and plays, it's going to allow you to know, okay, how am I going to extend your own plays, and it's going to also allow you to know what move you should make and how to properly bait their back row. Because when you're baiting their back row, guys, I see a lot of players do this over and over and over. The opponent will have, let's say for example, 4 back row set. They'll just go ahead and use Twin Twister first when they could have used, let's say for example, a Spiral Super Agent to pop the back row first and then Twin Twister the rest of it. See, me when I play, and what I see a lot of pro players do too, we like to bait out the back rows with monster effects, or it could be a different variable for every deck. Let's say for example, if you're playing Spirals and you have Super Agent in hand, Twin Twister, and let's say you have the Spiral Monster Born card. Now, if you have that card in hand, most players will be like, okay, I'll just Twin Twist the back row, go for Agent, and then be good. In my opinion, that's a bad play, and that's due to the fact that if you Twin Twisted their back row, you might hit something bad, and then if they had one card that you're trying to avoid, like I said, a strike or a warning, you're going to be in a bad position. But if you go activate Agent, they warning you, then you be like, okay, I'll Twin Twist the other back row, leaving them one back row left, or you can bring back your Agent. Well, let's say for example a big red, and like I said, the same thing can go between different variables for different decks. Your opponent will be less likely to fend off your onslaught for their turn because they already wasted one of their best back rows hitting an important card they feel is unique to your deck. And then you also wiped out 2 of their other back rows. So just make sure to bait their back row properly. If, like I say, if your opponent, if you have a Twin Twister or MST or anything in general, I always try to go for the make the obvious 1-for-1 plays, guys. You always gotta make the obvious 1-for-1 plays, but don't blind pop unless you have no options. And this goes back to not knowing enough about the meta, and not knowing enough about your deck. So, like I say, for example, if you know a lot about your deck, do not, and you know how it works, do not blind pop unless you have no options. And if you guys want an example of what no options mean if you're on a losing end anyway, and you're like, fuck it, rip the Agent, I have to special summon Agent to try to pop back row, or I have to special summon this card in my hand to pop the back row or pop the monster. And if I don't pop, I'm gonna lose. If I do pop, I might lose anyway. So at that point, you just go all out. And last but not least, for going second, guys, don't use all resources in hand unless you have no choice, and don't spam monsters to do unnecessary damage. Now, the unnecessary damage and spamming monsters is a big one. It's because I see players do it all the time. They do it to me at tournaments, and they bite the bullet for it. They bite the bullet a fucking lot because they can be winning and they can be beating you down. Like for example, back in the day when Torrential Tribute was a big threat, you always see the people go 19, 19. They see that you don't have a Mirror Force, but they see you setting back row, and they just keep poking for 19 and 19. And a lot of old school players like me still do that today. And the reason being is because of the Torrential Tribute effect, where if back in the day, if you have normal summoning to try to push for unnecessary damage, even though you didn't have the game that turn, you can run to a TT and your opponent will capitalize on the play, getting a 2-for-1 on you instead of a 1-for-1. So you always want to make sure your opponents don't go for 1-for-1s. You don't want to get into 1-up unless you just absolutely have no choice. Or if you feel like you can go for game that turn, just say fuck it, go for game. But make sure if you feel like you gotta go for game, try to feel your opponent out, try to read their body language, and it will help you make the best play possible at the set time. Next up, the mid game. So we're gonna talk about the mid game now, and pretty much throughout the mid game, to not waste resources as possible, you just have to make sure to try to tempo with your opponent, going back and forth, not using all your resources. And also, when you do use your resources, make sure you can go for game. And once again, this all goes back to knowing the current meta you are currently in. And lastly, I'm going to talk about the late game, pretty much when time is called, because if you're going super duper late into the game and when time is called, a lot of players don't do this, and a lot of players do this. So for you guys that do not do this, when time is called in a round, if your life points is higher, just burn the clock out. Ain't nothing wrong with burning the clock out, and build your defenses unless you can OTK the opponent. Now, if your life points are lower, go all in and play smart. I mean, you have no choice anyway. I see so many people at big events, they slow play, then they get the judges on their ass, and they fuck up. Now, one of the major things that help you waste your resources and that fucks me up personally is getting overhyped, because if I'm in a winning position or if I'm in a losing position, I might get hyped because I'm thinking I'm gonna win, or I might just get bummed because I think I'm gonna lose. And when that happens to you, you will forget shit. So remember guys, to stay calm. Now, as I recap to this video, like I said, the whole point of this video is to help players play the game of Yu-Gi-Oh better and to not waste the resources. So I talked about playing when time is called in the late game. I talked about the mid game. I talked about going second, and I also talked about going first. If I missed out on anything of wasting resources in Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm gonna leave that for you guys to post in the comment section down below. And like I always said, if you guys want me to do any more technical play videos, or you guys feel like I need to make more technical play videos, I mean, I have a few more ideas on to make in the woodworks, but if you guys have any more technical play segments you want to be made, post that also in the comment section down below. Also, if you guys would like to support the channel monetarily speaking, not saying you have to, but if you really want us to support me, like how people support me on Patreon or on Twitch, I have a PayPal link in the front page of my channel. You can click the PayPal and start your monthly support if you wish. So like I always tell you guys, if you're new to the channel, I would love for you to subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh content. I upload pretty much whenever I want now. I try to get at least 5 to 6 videos up weekly, and since I have the 10K subscribers, YouTube allows me to live stream from my phone, so I do a lot of live streams. So like I always tell you guys, this is Chris from Innovation Yu-Gi-Oh, and I'm signing out. Peace guys, and stay innovative. Deuces.